Greetings and welcome, this is Creepy. So the balance changes are out and I wanted to give my verdict on it, on how I feel about them. Overall I was quite excited about the balance changes this time because there were many clones that needed buff. So let's carry on with the video. And for simplicity I won't be covering any bug fixes or quality of life changes like adding stats on the clone card or anything like that. The first balance change comes to arrows. The clone damage is being reduced by 13% and the tower damage is increased by 40%. According to the devs, arrows have long been the predominant defensive clone used in all modes and trophy ranges of play, mostly because it is capable of effectively dealing with large, tanky clones as well as swarms of smaller, more fragile ones. The aim with this clone damage decrease is to reduce its power against large clones that can be hit with multiple arrows while keeping it an effective swatter of swarms. Other clones such as Firebird and Spiky remain strong tank busters. Arrows were dealing unusually low tower damage as for 4 mana spell, so it will be increased to match similar clones to compensate for the lost clone damage. I think it will be better with mini floating bomb and arrow combo, but overall I think it's a nerf. Next up, the Big Frost is getting his hit force increased by 14%. In the testing I found out that the plane bomb hit by the Big Frost are traveling much higher and much further, a tad bit, but it's definitely visible. His HP is increased by 11%, so it's a bit more tanky, so that means it won't just immediately die from getting hit from firebirds and taking 2 or 3 tower shots. It will stay alive for a bit longer. And mass is being increased by 66%. This is the most powerful buff to the Big Frost because before that the Big Frost was pretty much getting pushed around by pretty much every other clone. But now it will have a similar mass to the Big Smith and will be pushing much better with its freezing capabilities and being able to resist being pushed back. Next up, Bomb Golem is getting a buff to the clone damage. It's getting increased by 25%. Hit points are getting increased by 5%, and the most important one is that the bombs that it drops after it dies are pushed forward like the cluster bomb. Yeah, I think that the last one is a pretty good buff to the Bomb Golem because it's really hard to get the golem to reach the enemy tower, and even like if you're on the ramp and it dies, compare the bomb golem to the cluster bomb. It's easy for a cluster bomb to reach the enemy tower, even if it doesn't reach inside the tower. If it explodes right next to the tower, like on the ramp, the mini bombs will still make it into the tower. And in this case, you're getting some compensation for being able to push the bomb golem so close to the enemy tower. So I like that. Next up, Core Bomber is getting the hit points increased by 10%. And in my testing I found out that in some cases you will be able to get 1 extra mini bomb from the Core Bomber before it dies. Like if your opponent is using Spiky on it, you will be able to get 1 extra bomb before the Core Bomber dies. Next, there is a massive buff to the Core Tri Bomb. So the small bomb, the first stage of the bomb, is getting the tower damage increased. Tower and area damage increased by 40%, that's massive. And the medium bombs area and tower damage is being increased by 20%. So in the testing I found out that if your medium tri-bomb is evolving to the big tri-bomb, the third stage, it will kill the striker boy upon evolution if it's close by. So that's a massive buff. On top of that, it will be dealing more damage to the enemy tower. So at stage 2, it's already dealing damage as much as a cluster bomb or big bouncy bomb. And next, Doggo Horde is getting the sling distance increased by 25%. So now it reaches the middle of the bridge instead of just right next to your ramp. The swarm never reaches the tower if the tower has the second bow activated. So I think it's a good buff. You might see an improve or increase in Doggo, like Doggo swarm type decks. But there is another buff coming in this list that will help you with the doggos. And speaking of that buff, here it is, the Fireball. Its explosion force is being increased by 20%, that's good. The area damage is increased by 18%, that's massive. And sling curve is improved, so it's a quality of life change. So Why do I say the area damage change is massive? Because now it's able to kill Doggocopters, Doggo House, Drago, Jackie, and Striker Boy in one hit. Yeah, in friendly matches where everything is equal level, the Fireball will deal with all of those in one shot. You don't have to deal any extra damage to it. They will all die in one hit. That's a pretty massive buff. Icicle is getting clone damage added to it, and its tower damage is increased by 66%. You can pop the bubble with the Icicle. You can even detonate plus bot with this. You don't want to do that, but you can do it if you want to. And tower damage is increased by 66%, which is nice. Lumberjackie is getting the area damage increased by 15%, so that's nice. This buff will help her deal with other clones while pushing or struggling on the bridge for when there are like multiple clones on the bridge. You want your Jackie up front to deal damage to them. The 15% damage might not look much, but over time it adds up. She will take 1 or 2 swings less to kill some opponent's clones. Next we have another big buff to Mini Bouncy Bomb. So now instead of 1 Mini Bouncy Bomb, you're getting 2 for more combo potential and more damage. But to trade off, they are decreasing the area damage and tower damage by 20%. So in my opinion, this is a pretty big buff to the Mini Bouncy Bomb. Next, the Mini Floating Bombs are getting a nerf. Their area damage and tower damage is decreased by 13%. Next, Spinning Saw is getting its hit points increased by 33% and clone damage increased by 36%. The dev comment says, this time we increase hit point and clone damage to make it more durable and effective at defending against clones and able to reach the opponent's tower more often. Tornado is getting its area damage increased by 150%. That's a massive buff. The Jackie leaves almost all of its HP. She is left with 1/8 of her health. The clone damage is pretty massive right now. It almost kills pretty much everything that is below Jackie. And lastly, the Wildfire is getting another buff, a good buff actually. The sling distance is increased by 30%, so now the Wildfire can actually directly reach the enemy tower, and the tower damage is increased by 150%. So to add to that it can directly reach the enemy tower, they are increasing the tower damage. So those are all the balance changes. I did not include any bug fixes or quality of life changes in it because I think it might make the video a bit longer than it should be. And in my opinion, the balance changes are really good. I'm pretty happy about the Fireball and Mini Bouncy Bomb changes. They needed some much needed love. And the dev showed that they actually cared about the underappreciated clones. The Fireball might be too overpowered at this point because it is giving you so much positive values on so many things, such as you can get +1 trade on Doggo House, you can get +1 trade on Doggocopter, you can get +2 trade on Drago. And for Mini Bouncy Bomb, it was pretty underwhelming when it came out. So right now it will be seeing some good usage. For 2 mana, it's a good alternative to Plain Bomb, or you can even use it with Plain Bomb, Sticky Bomb, and with itself to make a quick cycle deck. It will deal a significant amount of damage and will keep your opponent always annoyed by its presence. So my verdict on this balance change is that I'm pretty happy about it. The Fireball might be a bit overpowered, but we'll see. I think it needed that push so that everybody could try and use it instead of just going for arrows, because arrows does everything Fireball does but better. But one drawback to Fireball is that it cannot deal with Bombard Barrel. If the Fireball gets an increase in use rate, you might start using Bombard Barrel because it's a perfect clone to use against it, because people cannot use Fireball on it. They'll have to use something else, and since they don't have arrows, your Bombard Barrel is pretty much free to wreak havoc on your opponent's tower. Oh, one more thing. I have 2 quick announcement videos coming up, so stay tuned for that. And that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time with another video. Till then, this is Grapey signing out.